Hi there, it's Simon Gray from Codex, back with another weekly video. And this week I'm taking the two blog posts that I've written over the past couple of weeks and kind of consolidating them into a piece of advice on video about when and how to start a business. So as the year draws to a close, one of the things people think is, well, what am I coming back to do in the new year? And one of the things people sometimes think about is, when is the right time to start a business? Should I start a business? Can I start my own business and run my own show? Entrepreneurship wasn't something I personally discovered till I was around about 35. I'm a little bit older now, and I think nowadays with the internet, there's just an increasing opportunity for people to start businesses and to at least try their hand with minimal risk, but with maximum opportunities. So I'm going to talk about some of my experience in business and some of my lessons and advice today, if indeed you are considering starting your own business. So the first question is this: when is the right time? And one of the big mistakes people make, I think, is that they look to the external market to decide when the right time is. So what I mean by this is, are market conditions favourable? Are they not favourable? That could be on a macroeconomic basis, or it could be on a sector basis. But the problem with that is this, and certainly in the UK where I'm based and where I'm speaking from today, the economy's not been brilliant for the past, goodness me, 5-6 years. So if you were waiting for the right opportunity, well, the right opportunity may not have been there. That is if you were waiting for the right external market conditions. And of course, if external market conditions are pretty bad on a macro basis, they're pretty bad for everybody. So there's not that much advantage in waiting for things to turn around, because when they turn around for you, they're going to turn around for everybody as well. So for me, the right time is when it's the right time for you. So what I mean by this is, if it's the right time for you to start a business, you've got the passion, the energy and the determination, and you're ready to get going, whatever the external market conditions are, well, it's probably the right time. And my own personal experience, I started a recruitment company back in 2008 with two former colleagues. We resigned from secure jobs, set up our own business 2 weeks before Lehman Brothers collapsed. And of course, that was the top of the market. It was a great time. The external market conditions were brilliant. Nobody foresaw the banking crisis. And then suddenly we're in this deep recession. And it would have been very, very easy to think, well, do you know what? This business is going to fail. We were committed. We had no choice. But we could have just sat back and thought, well, there's no point. What's the point? The external market conditions aren't right. But what was right was our thinking and our timing in terms of our personal situation. And we pushed on, made a success of this business, had to do things very differently, do things in a different way. I'll talk about that in a moment, about how you actually get going. But it worked, and that business is still going strong. I'm not in it anymore. I'm doing something different. I'm running Career Codex, but it just shows that with the right beliefs, the right thoughts, and the right determination, timing really is not about external market conditions, or it needn't be. It's more about you and what you bring to bear, and whether it's the right time for you. There's a famous story about the Vikings who came over and from Scandinavia, they would voyage and they would conquer other nations. And there was this story that on the banks of the shore, they would burn their boats. So they would burn their boats, so there was no going back. They'd either conquer or be killed. So for them, there was only plan A, no plan B. And I often hear different debates about whether you should have a plan B in business. My personal view, other people will disagree, is that you shouldn't have a plan B. Because if you have a plan B, you might naturally gravitate towards plan B when you needn't gravitate towards it. So for example, when I started my recruitment company, the recession hit, well, plan B might have been doing something else. But the reality was I'd committed to plan A, and plan A was what I was going to get behind and get done. And that's what happened. So if you try and focus your attention on plan A, knowing you've got plan B, well, you kind of detract some of your focus and attention from plan A ultimately towards plan B. So the message really about getting started in business and when to do it is, don't necessarily wait for a right time in terms of external market conditions. You might be waiting forever. If it's the right time for you, then great, get on with it. Procrastination is a big blocker. We can all blame external factors. We can't control external factors, and if we use external factors to procrastinate and make excuses about not getting going, then we may never get going. So once you accept that it's you and you alone, it's the right time for you, then there's no excuse. There can never be an excuse, because you either do or you don't. So how do you actually launch a business? How do you get going? Well, some people will advise you need a certain amount of money in the bank, and that's absolutely right. If you're doing a service-based business, well, you probably need less money in the bank than if you've got to buy stock, materials, machinery. If you're in a traditional production type organisation, I'm a service sector specialist, so you don't need too much. You need to be able to pay your bills, and you need some initial capital to invest in your business to back you. And remember, when you start a business, you not only need to find capital to invest in the business, but you also need to pay your bills, to pay yourself some money to live off. And obviously you can dial that back a little bit while you get the business going, but we've all got bills, we've all got things we need to pay, family to support, so it's an important consideration. But when I got going in business, it was bank finance or savings really to get going, and in the financial crisis, bank finance drifted away. Nowadays, there's crowdfunding. You've got a great idea, you get a movement behind you through one of the crowdfunding websites. You can get a business off the ground. So finance is less of a big deal, I think, now than it used to be, particularly in the service sector space. What is really important is that you pick a lane. And what I mean by this is this: you can't do everything for everybody. And the temptation when you start a business, and I know this because I've fallen into this trap, is that you think, well, do you know what? I'll do whatever, I'll go into a certain sector, but I'll do whatever anyone asks. And suddenly you're running around doing different things for different people. There's no commonality in terms of the service you offer, and you're running around like a headless chicken. And the other thing is, because you become a generalist, you don't really have a clear message to take to the market. And we live in a world now of specialism. And the analogy I always use is, in the UK, you're ill, you go to a doctor, a GP, a general practitioner. If the general practitioner knows quite a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff, but doesn't know the detail, and the GP will often refer you onto a specialist. The specialist knows pretty much everything about a really narrow topic, and of course the specialist tends to get paid the most. So that's how you have to be in business. You have to be surgically precise with what you do and what you don't do, and knowing what you don't do can be just as important as knowing what you do, and being able to turn business away that isn't your business is a really powerful thing to do, and it sends a very powerful message to the market. If you're going to have a USP, you can't have a USP as a generalist, because you've got a general offer to a general audience. So be a specialist, and through my business career Codex, which is my business now, I implemented this lesson. So I work with executives, senior executives from across the world to help them navigate the job market successfully. I do this with senior executives. I wrote a book for senior executives. That's a very clear message in the marketplace that I'm a specialist in this space, and it works because I know who I work with and then who I don't work with on a one-to-one basis. I do other stuff for people coming out of school, college, and university, but it's not on a one-to-one consultation basis. It's a very, very different offer. So pick a lane, stick to it, and then, having positioned your business behind that USP, you then promote your message, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Just one final point on that positioning. It can be very tempting when you start a business to look at what everybody else is doing and try and cherry pick the best bits from your competitors or who you perceive as your competitors. But unfortunately, that puts you in the generalist camp. And the better way to do it is to look at what everybody else is doing, and then to position your offer in a different space. So if I think about my own business career Codex, you look into the marketplace, there's loads of career coaches out there. They're all over the place. There's loads of people offering CV writing services. So I decided, well, in actual fact, that's not my message. And my message for successful job search starts way before a CV. And on my programs, we talk very little about a CV because actually it's not that important. So I created a framework that took 3 steps back. It starts with environment, how the job market works, psychology, what you bring to bear, planning, and then process. and package this under the brand name Career Codex and put that out into the marketplace. And it's a different offer because it's not about CVs, and that's what everyone else is talking about. So I looked at what they were doing, and I went over here. And I went over here with what I believed in, what I was passionate about, what I'd experienced through 10 years in the recruitment industry and learned through observation, packaged it and positioned it accordingly. And what's more, it works. So you tend to get the recommendation referral thing going. So once you've got your positioning, what you don't want to do is go out there and sell. Selling is old hat in my opinion. Traditional selling, traditional advertising. If you go out there and shout out your message, people aren't going to necessarily buy into your message. It might be the wrong time for them. And also, there's so much noise out there in terms of advertising messages, TV, social media, billboards. Everywhere you go, there's an advertising message. The radio, everywhere. So we've learned to filter it out. It's a self-protection mechanism that says, I'm going to block out that message, even if that message is relevant to me, because I can't take any more advertising. So to promote your product, to promote your service, and particularly if you're the higher value your service and the higher the transaction value, you've got to do things in a smarter way. So rather than see my product, see my service, buy my products, hire my service, I talk about something called see me, like me, trust me, hire me. Because if there's a certain transaction value, then you've got to build trust before somebody's going to engage and hire you to do a job. The other thing is this, that when you put your message out there, it might not be the right time for the individual that you're targeting. And in actual fact, how do we find out nowadays who we want to do business with? Well, we tend to go on Google and we search. So using social media, using the internet to communicate a message that taps into the challenges people that you're trying to work with have, or the aspirations, the things that they're looking to get to, and not selling to them, but providing educational and helpful content to help them advance their situation is really what it's all about. Now, of course, not everyone who's going to read your content is going to become a paying customer. Doesn't matter. It's not what it's about. It's about thinking about serving first rather than selling. And if you think about serving first, well, you're not selling, you're producing content, creating engaging content, producing a message that's going to help people. And naturally, some of those people will become paid clients, because even if you put your best content out there, your best information, people will still need, in the coaching world where I exist, they'll still need help in implementing it and applying it to their specific situation. So see me, like me, trust me, hire me is really what it's all about. See me, hire me, see me buy my product really doesn't work. And that's the difference between traditional advertising and modern marketing in my book. Exactly the same in the job market. See my CV, hire me, doesn't work. See me, like me, trust me, because I know what I'm talking about. I'm communicating a message as a thought leader to a target audience. I know what I do and what I don't do. That tends to build engagement, and that's how I advise my clients to find opportunities in this place called the hidden market, which are opportunities that are never advertised, rarely advertised. Eventually they may become advertised via job boards or recruiters, but employers, the way they work, talking about the job market environment, would often prefer to hire somebody directly through recommendation or referral. That really is what the hidden market is all about. So that's pretty much the advice I wanted to give. There's a couple of blog posts where I go into this in much more detail. I'm going to put the links to those on YouTube below, so you can click in and have a read. If this video resonated with you, if you've got a question, a comment, any feedback, then please type in the box below. And if this is the first time you've come across Career Codex and the stuff that I talk about and you'd like to subscribe, please visit careercodex.com. Alternatively, if you would like to visit my website, careercodex.com, you can subscribe to the weekly newsletter, and I put out this content each and every week. So that's pretty much it. Take care, and until next time, have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.